roll number 97. In the spring of 1998, he served as the chapter chorister and represented the chapter at an undergraduate interfraternity institute session in 1999. Mark has had an interesting and exciting career in financial services. His first job was as an assistant trader with Quiet Life Securities. He then moved into a market maker role with Group 1 Trading and Everest Trading. In 2009, Mark founded a derivatives education and consulting company now called Option Pit, for which he is currently the managing partner. Mark is currently the chief investment officer for Carmen Line Capital in Chicago, where he is responsible for the investment policy of the firm and its clients. Mark is a former member of the Chicago Board of Options Exchange and the American Stock Exchange. He is the author of the trading manual, The Option Trader's Hedge Fund, and previously founded a monthly magazine for option traders. Mark is a frequent guest on CNBC and is a personal favorite of Mad Money host Jim Cramer. Mark also serves on the board of directors of the Greenwood Project, which is dedicated to increasing the number of minorities in financial services careers. Mark resides in Riverside, Illinois, with his wife Lauren and 2 sons. Next up, we have Mark Rizbowski, Villanova 2012. Mark grew up in Festerville, Pennsylvania, and graduated from Neshaminy High School in 2008. He attended Villanova and earned a bachelor's degree in business administration with a finance concentration and a minor in mathematics in 2012. He was initiated as a member of Beta Theta Pi, roll number 243, in the spring of 2009. During his time at Villanova, Mark spent a semester studying abroad in Copenhagen, and he worked as an International Trade Association intern with the U.S. Commercial Service. Mark has spent his career in the digital advertising and media space, primarily in the sports gambling industry, beginning as a paid search coordinator and an advertising strategist with Resolution Media, where he managed paid search and social media campaigns. He had similar roles as online and digital marketing managers with Poppin, FanDuel, and Elaborate. Mark is currently a search engine marketing manager for William Hill, an online sports betting company. Mark currently lives in New York City. And last, we have Mike Oakenquist, Villanova 94. Mike was born and raised in Connecticut, graduating from Amity High School in 1990. He graduated from Villanova with a bachelor's degree in history and a minor in political science in 1994. He was a founding father of our chapter, initiated as roll number 16. Mike served as scholarship chair and secretary, and he was elected vice president of the Interfraternity Council. After graduating from Villanova, Mike joined the Philadelphia law firm of Drinker, Biddle, and Reith as a paralegal. After 2 years, he took a position at Delaware Investments as a compliance officer for the firm's mutual fund business. While at Delaware, Mike began the MBA program at Temple University, graduating in 2000 with a degree in marketing. In 2004, Mike served as the director of marketing for a company in the pharmaceutical industry, and in 2007, Mike joined PNC Bank's marketing team. He has held several roles in marketing and currently is the senior vice president of retail marketing at PNC, where he manages the bank's acquisition efforts for consumer businesses and is responsible for consumer branding strategy, direct marketing, print and digital media development, content management, and communications. He has served Beta in many volunteer roles over the last 25 years, including his service on Beta's Board of Trustees for 2 3-year terms. He is now Beta's Advisory Council Commissioner and serves as our chapter counselor. Mike was elected as a member of the Board of Trustees of the Philadelphia History Museum in 2015. Mike and his wife Meredith live in Blue Bell with their 2 children. Now, do you have questions you want to ask them?
Yeah. That's a lot. Hopefully you guys got
a lot of information.
There were definitely some words and phrases in there you guys might not be familiar with, like market maker and search engine optimization, all that. So if you guys have questions as you go along, write them down and you can ask as we go through this. So what we'll do is I'll ask a few questions. Have Mark, this is going to get confusing, so we'll see how this goes. And the idea here is to hear about their career, certainly, finance, investments, marketing, digital world. And I'll jump in with some comments from my experience as well. But they've made choices to get where they are, and hopefully thinking about where they're going next. They've met all kinds of different people through their interview process, and their colleagues and interesting people. Mark's on TV, so Mark Sebastian's on TV often, so he has some interesting stories there, I'm sure. And I want to just hear a little bit about their experience, decisions they made to get where they are. So the idea here is not for you guys to walk right away with an internship or a job offer or those kinds of things, but learn a little bit about Mark and my experience in the professional world. So if you have a question about some other industry or other area, that's fine too. We might not be able to answer it specifically, but certainly can give you some idea of the broader sense of how you go about doing certain things to get where you want. Sound good? And even if you guys think, I got this, I've had good internships, I had some good interviews, I feel good about my career, where I'm going when I graduate, that's great. Most of you probably not. But even if you do, at some point in the next 2, 5, 10 years, you're going to be thrown a loop on some area, right? You're going to lose your job, the economy's going to tank, you're going to have something happen to you that's not in your control. And these conversations just help you through any kind of challenge you find. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, like a little bit, yeah.
I think Lauren's calling Mark.
Yeah, she was.
So I've known both of them since they went to chapter. So I know they'll be honest with their answers and help you guys out. So appreciate Mark being here. I guess we'll start out a little bit about Villanova. So Mark Sebastian, you came here from Chicago. Mark Beta, you came here from more local. You knew about Villanova. When you were thinking about Villanova, and you thought about kind of the career you might pursue and the major you were going to have, did the choice of Villanova help you, or was that a factor in the decision to come here? So Mark Sebastian, we'll start with you.
Well, I'll tell you, 10 years later, Villanova would have been a huge help to me. But when I started looking for internships my sophomore year, people are like, is that school in Tennessee? Or worse, they'd say, is that school? I know a bunch of people went there in Indiana because they thought it was Valpo. And obviously the profiles changed a lot. But, truthfully, Villanova was great if I wanted to stay in the East Coast, but it was very problematic being in trying to move to Chicago at the time. So now I ended up moving to New York for a couple of years anyway after I graduated. So it didn't really matter. And actually, that was one of the things that Villanova really did for me was, if I hadn't gone to Villanova, I would have done the whole I call them boomerangs. They leave their hometown or their home city, right? They go to school and then they circle around and come right back. But instead, I got to go to New York, and then from there, eventually moved back to Chicago a couple of years after graduation.
For me, born and raised Philadelphia area. Parents were from Philadelphia. When I was applying for colleges, I really had three main things I wanted to three main reasons to pick a college. One, close to my home. I have a twin brother, and I had a little sister at the time, so I was 30 minutes to go from Villanova to home. I wanted a school that had good academics. I wanted to major in business. I knew I liked numbers. I knew I liked math, so I was thinking finance or mathematics. And probably, even though my parents think this is the main reason, another important reason for me is I just loved college basketball, and I was not a college football guy. Everyone was like, from my hometown, like, let's go Penn State. And I was like, I do not want to go to Happy Valley, and I'd rather root for Villanova. Because when I was, in those main decision years of like 2004, 2005, and I was in middle school, Villanova was one of the number one teams in the country, and watched, every Saturday with my family.
I caught the last 3 years of Steve Lapis. So the last 4 years of Steve Lapis. So
I got like prime
jealous of you guys.
Yeah, I got prime Jay Wright and his his.
Yeah.
So, and funny enough, I'm the oldest. It's my twin brother, and then my little sister now. She's graduating. She's a senior right now in Pepperdine in Malibu. So with my experience, I told her, my parents were like, as twin brothers, you guys stay closer. If you really want to go to the California or Texas or wherever, you can. But when my sister, with our great experience, my twin brother went to Westchester, down the road from Villanova, and they said, if you want to go to Pepperdine or anywhere, you can always come back, and knowing how easy it was to, she got better grades at both of me and my brother, so it was easier. But, if you want to come back, it's fine. And, worst case scenario, you have a great year, and then, you can come back. But I was really happy with my choice of Villanova. One of the best decisions I ever made.
So when you got here and you're thinking about your major, it sounds like maybe, you both had some idea what you wanted to do. Talk a little bit about that process, the classes you took, and, when you were declaring to be business majors. Talk about that process as you thought about what you would do next.
I knew day one I wanted to be in business and in finance. I was planning on maybe doing like investment banking, or, my father had been in the bond business, so I could go back and do bonds, or maybe even just be a financial consultant. And then, do you guys know Doctors Houghtons, Sean and Shelley? You guys know them? Are they still there?
No, head shake, no.
Yeah, so they were there until he might be at the Real Estate Institute. I think they might have just quit, but they were professors that I had, and I had Sean for financial markets, and then my second semester junior year, he pulls me aside and says, "Hey, I'm starting a derivatives class for the business department because there wasn't one." He said, "It's probably going to be pretty hard. I want you to take it." I said, "Okay." So I did, and that's how I got into options. That's how I realized that was something I really wanted to do. I was lucky enough to have professors that knew me and liked me and wanted to talk to me. One of the things I think that is great about Villanova, if you're personable and you talk, is if you spend 2 minutes talking to your professor, when they show up before class starts, you spend a couple minutes talking to them, getting to know them. One, they're going to help you because you're going to get the benefit of the doubt on stuff. And two, they'll kind of they'll offer you some guidance on things that maybe you should be doing throughout as you go through college, and they'll even tell you what professors not to take.
Yeah, I think for me, to be perfectly honest, I knew, I think if I were to redo it again, I would be a math minor and then maybe minor in business, or maybe add statistics, just because I use more math now. But, my main goals, when heading into Villanova is I know I didn't want to be a certain, just trade stocks all day or have like a certain job title. But I knew what I was good at, which was numbers. And then, which is why I, added my math minor. And as I, after I started abroad, in Copenhagen, I just fell in love with, just international trade, just, traveling as much as I could. So I knew what type of company I wanted to be a part of, so bigger. So I have a lot of team, a huge team. Luckily for me, in the last 3 roles that I've had at FanDuel, Olympic, and here at William Hill, I speak with, people around the world. And I always knew that, throughout my career, it doesn't matter what's going to be automated, or, every job eventually is going to be automated, but you can, if you're good with numbers, you'll find a place, for any company, whether, you're selling, you're selling widgets, or you're data analyzing a fake financial company, you'll always be welcome in major companies.
I've got a quick question regarding the recent outlook on the gambling market and the legalization across the U.S. How has that affected your job?
So I've been on the good and bad side of that. So, at FanDuel, I was unfortunately one of the, the 40% of the people who got let go. So I understand, if there's a hot market and, they're hiring like crazy. And also too, if the bubble pops, just even though I was doing a really good job, at the end of the day, if the business doesn't need, 40% of the company, it's fine. But I understood that, when joining William Hill, I was looking at the opportunity, the risk profile that I have for myself, that, luckily for me, when I did get let go from FanDuel, I had 3 job offers in the next 6 weeks, because not that I was good at sports, not that I, was, just focusing on, because FanDuel now, I just want to be in DraftKings, and, I didn't take that. I, actually had 3 different offers from 3 very different companies. One was a B2B company. One was a huge major agency that, does the marketing for the biggest brands in the world. And then a strictly laundry startup that just just raised a bunch of money from, big time investors. And then, so you have to make some choices, but I always know that, with William Hill, everything was getting all the laws were becoming legal now. And then when William Hill came, reached out to me on LinkedIn, I did assess the risk, the pros and cons of, and with negotiating taxes, just, realize what questions I needed to ask now that I didn't ask at FanDuel. Like, what's going to happen if, major legislation changes? What are they a profitable business now? And just did more research on the company. So when I finally, switched to William Hill, I know that they were, a company that I could see myself growing into for the next couple of years.
Thank you.
No problem.
Mark, let's stay with you there. So why don't you describe what you do every day, sort of the marketing and digital piece, but also how it applies to the industry and the sports betting.
Absolutely. So while you guys are scrolling through memes on Instagram and tagging each other at Barstool, I serve the next couple ads. So sometimes when you're talking to your friends and you're mentioning a certain product and it shows up in your Instagram, like that's me. When you type in certain things, like if you type in, one of my previous clients, my initial jobs, I ran the Starbucks paid search. So when you typed in, Starbucks near me, when you typed in, coffee recipes, when you look in Google in the top couple ads, those are the ad copy that I wrote, making sure that when you clicked, you got the best relevant landing page for us. So I work on things like Snapchat ads, Instagram, Facebook, Google search, and then help out with affiliate marketing, and help with some of the creative and the team deals. So like right now we're negotiating with Bleacher Report and some higher level league deals. So if my CMO ever needs some questions on how much you think this is worth to us, if they're gonna for example, we just signed a deal with the Devils, and they came back to us with a number of how much we would pay them for every time the Devils won. They would post on behalf of William Hill, and I had to be able to see how much that was worth to us.
You literally made a deal with the devil?
Yeah, it was and we actually have a deal with the Golden Knights too. And so it's always something new, especially with with new technology that's growing, with all the TV space, like, that even a couple of years ago would never happen, like Hulu and Roku and all these different, TV, these streaming services, every day we're trying to figure out how we can get in front of the people, the target audience for us. So for this, it was, it's males 21 plus, who we deem to be a gambler or a very heavy sports fan.
So just to add to what Mark said, so he said, if his CMO, chief marketing officer, has questions on things, he goes to Mark, right? So even though that job, who knows, someday that Mark's job may be automated too, but that kind of a skill, we do that at PNC and all large companies also. So I work with digital marketing experts like Mark. So when I'm looking at something for our business on the retail banking side, and we're looking at Facebook to put ads on, we go to someone like Mark, and they're the expert. So the chief marketing officer or leaders of the business go to people like Mark for those kinds of questions. So that kind of skill is really great to have, even though Mark's not CMO yet. He's still a leader of the company from that standpoint, that he has that expertise. All right, so Mark, Sebastian, options, derivatives, market maker, these guys, these finance guys probably know some of those things, but tell us what you do every day and how you get to be on Jim Cramer's show.
All right, well, so interestingly, I get a lot of stuff looked in front of me. I'm going to bring this up with Mark. I was talking to some guys, they're developing basically a Robinhood. You guys know what Robinhood is? Everyone here knows what Robinhood is?
Yeah, love Robinhood.
Yeah, they're developing a option version of that. And they're telling me, they're like, do you know what our cheapest search is? Searching out people that are investing in cryptocurrency. So, you know, cryptocurrency, option traders, sports betting, they're all the same guys. It really is you know, as a market maker, you're almost like a bookie at a casino. So what I was doing was setting, you know, if you go to a casino, they've got a spread, right? You can get, you know, plus 110 or minus you know, minus 85 on a bet, something like that. And that spread is where they make their dollars. So, you know, you bet $1 to win $95, or you bet $1 to win 105. They're kind of spreading the trading of that actual sports bet. That's kind of what market makers and options do. It just instead of, you know, you know, Villanova's gonna cover the spread. It's, you know, Apple options are gonna settle below $200 and the level that costs. So that was kind of what I was doing on the floor. I was basically running a legalized gambling operation as the casino. Now, people were using options for different reasons, right? They were hedging. They're, you know, big portfolio managers. Mom and pop, you know, 1 and 2 lot options that one of you guys might trade is not what I was concerned with. It was when Goldman Sachs walked in and wanted to buy 100,000 calls, right? They're not doing that because they're making a bet. They're doing that because they have a deal going on in an IPO, and if it goes their way, then, you know, then they need to hedge it off. But, you know, as a trader, as I grew up, one of the things I realized is I am a terrible employee. I was awful at it. So I was not a bad trader, but I was a terrible employee, so I kept getting fired. But, you know, when you have P&L, you get hired. So I finally got sick of being fired all the time, and that's what drove me into entrepreneurship and starting my own company, because the only people that can fire me is if no one's going to buy the product. And that's kind of been kind of how OptionPit started. And then, you know, one arm of our business is working with hedge funds and money managers and assisting them in building derivative strategies. I got sick of making derivative strategies for other people. And so I said, screw it, and started my own small fund group. And, you know, that we're just starting to build a track record where I finally hired someone for that group to be my boss, which might sound funny, but when there's a difference between ownership and being the executive. So I'm the executive. I was the executive of 2 companies, and I was getting split in half and not able to really keep up with both sides. So I hired someone to run the fund group. I'm still trading, but now I don't have to do asset raising, the market, all of the compliance, things like that. So, you know, that's kind of how my career has progressed over time.
You guys have any questions specifically about Mark's role? Or?
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, you understand everybody. Oh yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Thank those of you for speak up. So I have a question for Ashley. Can you tell me more about your opinion on showing the VIX and the outlook of the volatility market?
I did not fully hear the question. I heard VIX.
Here's Sam.
Your thoughts on shorting the VIX and the volatility in the market these next couple months?
All right, so that's a great question. That's awesome.
Topic for CNBC tomorrow morning.
All right, so you know, shorting the VIX, it was like the like, you know,
Tell them what the VIX is,
story of,
Mark, tell them what the volatility index.
all right, so the volatility index is so you've all heard of the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones, right? So what someone said is, well, how expensive are options? Options measure the cost of insuring a portfolio, right? An option is a put option is basically the same as buying car insurance, right? You pay every month your car insurance, but then if you get in an accident, the insurance pays for your car, right? That's kind of what options are. So someone said, well, let's develop an index that measures how expensive insurance is. And that is what the VIX really represents. So what do I think of the volatility space in the next 3 to 6 months and the outlook? So shorting the VIX is fine, but you have to know what you're doing and you have to do it smartly. It became kind of what we call a crowded trade. You guys know what a crowded trade means? All right, so here's how you can tell. Here's how you can tell when it's time to get out of something. I was in so here's how I've called the top in cannabis stocks. I was in an Uber. I was in the back of an Uber, and my driver starts talking about all the cannabis trading that they're doing. And I said, well, that's the top. And it was within a few weeks. Same thing with Bitcoin. And so they used to call it when the shoe shine boy is talking about stocks, the stock market's overvalued. And that kind of happened with the VIX space, with volatility, shorting the VIX in 2017 and 2018. You saw what happened to the VIX at the beginning of 2018. People did not understand the structure of the ETNs they were investing in, things like VXX, XIV, UBXY, and blew out. There was a fund that was managing $5 billion along those lines, and it was gone. There was a lot of groups that got complete haircut. XIV, which had $2 billion in assets, went from $2 billion to about 38 million in a day. So it's set, and so what I would say is that I'm not against shorting the VIX, but there's some there's some smart things you can do to stop yourself from blowing up. And we actually had seen signs that there was something wrong by the middle of January. So, I'm happy that I can go into the weeds for like 3 hours if you give me a chance. But I'll just leave it there. I'm all for shorting the VIX, but you have to do it smartly. You have to know what you're doing. With stocks, there are people that will spend more time reading the directions on their Kraft milk and cheese, and then they will actually figure out what they're investing in. So do your homework and then trade VIX.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up question. How do you stay ahead of you're talking about like crowd investing? So how do you make sure you stay ahead of the information before other people get it so that you can capture it?
How do you stay? Well, that's actually a good question. You have to be, I think, a lot of research, spend a lot of time looking into things. And, here's what I would say is when you're dumb, you guys all have your friends that, the ones that you think are kind of smart and the ones you think are kind of morons, right? We all have that guy, right? And if you don't have that guy, guess what? You're that guy. So we all have that guy that we think is kind of a mullet, and that when that guy starts talking about something, it's time to start paring back and taking pains.
Thank you. Good advice, Mark.
Yeah.
All right. We had another question. Well, before we do that, one other question. Mark Sebastian talked about the professor you had here, who was sort of like towards him, like a mentor, someone that kind of guided you or listened to you and helped you along the way. Maybe not formally a mentor, but have you had, either one of you had a mentor in your career or someone that's in the industry that you kind of looked up to that helped you along the way? Maybe it was someone on campus, maybe it was a family friend or your first manager, whatever it might be. I spent, when I graduated college, my first year of learning to trade, I basically was a glorified lunch boy. And then after work, we would do training for an hour to 2 hours every, Monday through Thursday. And then from there we would do like mock trading. Then eventually, one guy kind of takes you under his wing and works with you while you're learning. The guy that really took me from kind of a good trader to a really good trader was a guy in Chicago that actually later that really kind of took me under his wing and taught me a lot. Those two professors, I've got 2 books written. They are in my acknowledgments of both books because they have continued to kind of follow up with me and dig into me, which is, and their value, and they have sent me
kids to help get jobs and to refer on because that they think, and because I trust them, I've been happy to try and help those kids out. So again, that's another thing is if you make a good connection with a professor, they may be able to point you in the right direction, and you know, that can really be helpful.
Yeah, and then for me, I wouldn't say I had any specific mentors, but fortunately for me, a lot of the Villanova betas are in the marketing field, and you know, they work in a lot of the New York ad agencies, or they you know, hop to a client side. So I got to bounce around some ideas, you know, what's working for them or what's not working for them, and taking it for my own, you know, specific reason. One of my best friends from Villanova, he graduated, you know, 2 years before I did. He works at a media tech startup to do working at microphone technology, so you can see display ads based on the TV, you know, ads that you're seeing. You know, we stay in touch. I've actually pitched their business, you know, to our team there, and you know, we loved it, and you know, they loved it. We're going to sign a deal with them, and you know, didn't have to force anything. But you know, when you see something, when you stay with you know, people that you trust and you know, and specifically before, you know, another one of my friends, you know, sells advertising for a major corporation you've all heard of. But you know, when I asked him, hey, how do you think that we can, you know, make my business better, how I can look better, he goes, you know, my company is not the, you know, person that you know, that you guys should be dealing with, but you can, you know, there's a company A that you can do and a company B, and because, you know, we saw success with these guys, maybe we should try them. So definitely, you know, try to keep as many great try to you know, align yourself with people, you know, who you think you can help you out in your future with the same careers. Because at the end of the day, and you guys know, it's whether it's a finance person talking to another finance person or a marketing person, like things that are successful in any business that you're in, it's just the knowledge that you have and learning from people that you know, have walked through your shoes, so they can help you out. So just try to keep as many good relationships as you can.
I think that's a great point. I mean, industry, field, and all that's really important in your example there, Mark. But just the networking, I probably said this before, but just the connections you make, you never know where that's going to lead you. And just to keep people together in terms of sharing ideas. Mark said this. So Mark, was it like maybe 4 or 5 years ago? I was in New York. We had it was a beta event in the city, and I called up. We got Mark and Carl was there, and Mike Bakari, and a bunch of guys, and just the fact that they were there, they came, and they didn't know what was going on for this event, but you know, we just shared ideas and just stay in touch, and you never know where that's going to lead. So that's really important.
Yeah, funny enough, I have the ultimate staying in touch. You know, I've always believed in just being nice to people, and eventually it'll pay off. And then, you know, as I went to New York City and, you know, downloaded all the dating apps, I downloaded Hinge, and I went on a first date with, you know, this girl, and the only connection I had with her was somebody I went to Villanova. And then the week before we were supposed to go on a date, she asked, you know, this girl who went to Villanova, you know, do you know me and whatever. And 4.5 years later, she's now watching The Bachelor in the other room. So you never know, you know, who you got to be nice to, you know, in your time, at, you know, no matter where you are.
That's true. My wife's blogging about The Bachelor right now, actually. So
yeah, if you have any questions about The Bachelor, I can also I when I'm watching sports like Villanova or the Sixers or whatever, I'm sitting on the couch.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Mark Sebastian too. I was in Chicago. We met up, and you meet one of our undergraduates, and I think you guys connected on LinkedIn or something after that. So
yeah, and you know, I've had a couple of my fraternity brothers move here and get together. You remember Aldo? He moved here a couple of years ago, and you know, he was looking for a job. I gave him some suggestions locally. He was asking about some companies. Daryl Dobler lives here, and Nick Bolin, and so we all try and get together for, you know, at least when Villanova plays DePaul, we'll try and get together for that. Villanova happened to show up when it was negative 30 here, so we did not go because I'm not going to take my 9-year-old out. It's negative 30, but yeah, you do make some good connections.
Anybody have any questions for any of our panelists? Start with Jake.
All right, so I'm not sure like how in depth you guys know, but for like in terms of like research material with MIS and like analytics information, are there any like systems or technology you recommend learning, or any like classes you recommend I take while still at school?
All right, so most of the guys that I know what are you interested in doing? Trading, marketing? It kind of depends.
I'm looking at marketing and analytics as a co-major and minor, so.
Okay, then that's probably, I was going to tell you like Python and all the stuff that guys, program in. And that's, that would be what I would say, but Mark's the one to ask for that.
Yeah, so I use Excel every day. Just get yourself updated with like VLOOKUP, SUMIF, pivot tables, and a lot of the teams that I work with, the business intelligence guys, they use SQL, Tableau, and other things at Tableau. But I build a lot of the cohorts that I build in terms of just like trying to find where people are in our sales funnel, or how specific example for William Hill, it's like how many bets people have placed. If you sign up with a certain promo code, what type of bettor are you? It depends on what, if you come in through a certain state, or what season you come in. So like it's all built through Excels, and so just learn as many formulas as you possibly can. And I can't stress enough VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs, all the SUMIF, COUNTIFs, and and pivot tables.
Yeah, what's your favorite Excel shortcut?
Let's see, probably VLOOKUP, but what I'm doing now is I've been creating, I run the email marketing campaigns. So I'm trying to figure out if if we send you a certain amount of emails and you don't open them, and how what's lost in that. And then also too, if you open up all of our emails and you don't do the test that we have, like trying to data analyze that. So I'm trying to build a lot of waterfalls. I can, if you're interested in more in that, I can share the formulas to you guys. But it just helps me learn. So like certain examples, like I know within a 95% confidence that if you sign up with us in 5 weeks, then you're going to be a customer for life. And if you open up, if you deposit, a certain amount, like I say, it's like $5,000 or more, then you're a customer that we want, as opposed to, and then doing all that data analysis. But that's what I've been working on. But to answer your exact question, the VLOOKUP is saved my butt more times than I can count.
That's a great question, because a lot of entry-level jobs will ask you, what systems or what programs you learn, so it may seem obvious, but some of the basic Microsoft programs, like master them, any kind of CRM system that you have access to through your classes, learn them well, even things like SharePoint, and just have some background on some of those different things.
Yeah, I don't also.
Yeah.
Also too, honestly, some of the best tools, go on things like Khan Academy and just YouTube, and just type in, what you want to learn. That's helped me out, a lot. And there's, some great examples online. That if you want to, analyze something, that there's someone online has done it for you. So you don't have to do all the work. I'm telling you, there's resources available.
It speaks the truth. I did that with plumbing. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. So I just got an internship in digital marketing, but I'm just a sophomore, so I don't have a lot of like the specific knowledge. This is for Mark Grzybowski. Do you have any advice for just starting out in that kind of area?
Absolutely. Let's see. I think what you should do, with, depending on what role you have, from when I, interviewed anywhere, or, the skills I was always honest, and I didn't kid myself. So if there was an analytics role, like what I would put in my resume, or when I would interview with somebody, it's, what problem do you have that in my internship that I can be able to either assist you with, help you with, and or just make your life a lot easier. When a lot of people, like I know what I'm good at, so which is numbers and Excel, but I wasn't promising the world. And if you're honest with somebody and you can help them out, because that's what everyone's looking for, especially with the internships. So like what task can I give away so that I don't have to worry about it, so you can be so whatever I need is can get done. So just get your examples of like in the internship, like, hey, like these are the courses I take. This is the type of math that I do, and just show them, and I'm learning this, and don't promise them everything, because if you're a sophomore and you say, I know how to do this, that, and the other, it's either you're lying or that that you really don't know this thing. So just take those couple qualities or that what someone's looking for and just say, hey, I know how to do it. And I think the main thing is for my team is like, if you don't know something, either say why you're not good, you're always working on something, and if you're not sure of a question, just say, hey, I'll get back to you, or I'll try to figure out how I can get better. For me, it's like, and the question you guys are probably all going to get asked is, what's your biggest weakness, or what do you think you can improve on? And for me, it's like, I'm not the best public speaker, but I try to do more events like this, so I can speak to more people. I've signed up for a bunch of improv classes, and it says, hey, like, I'm not the best at, this specific skill, because as you can tell, I've had a finance major and a math minor. But I'm trying to work on all those things. So just be honest, show that you're a hard worker, and that should, and also too, just sometimes just dumb luck can help you push it through.
And just in general with the internships, ask questions. I have 1 to 2 interns every summer. If they don't ask me anything, I don't know that they don't know anything. And remember, like when I have interns, it's work for me, right? I'm teaching you a lot of times. It's as much a teaching role for the boss as it is for the intern helping out. So don't let me ignore you. Don't let your boss ignore you, and make sure you ask questions. And if you don't know something, if you really don't know something, admit it and say, what is that? And let the guy explain to you in 2 minutes instead of spending an hour and a half. Nothing makes me angrier than when someone spends 3 hours working on a question that I could have answered in 15 seconds. So, there's no such thing as stupid questions, just stupid people. Remember that.
And we'll leave it at that. I was kidding. Yeah.
This is for Mark Sebastian. What would you say are some of your most creative hedges, and how those worked out for you?
My most creative hedges. So I actually believe in what we call just-in-time hedging. So there are kind of 2 ways. You can either just be hedged all the time carrying puts, or you can execute just-in-time hedging. So what we do is we kind of monitor, a bunch of proprietary stuff that we watch. And then when it starts to fall, we start ramping up a hedge position. And, we just happen to have started building ours, in December, kind of well before, right as everything was melting down in the markets. So on January 24th, despite having a long levered position, I was up money because the hedge was doing so well. And that's kind of the goal of what we're trying to do in, when we do that. When I was a market maker, it was more kind of, here's what I'll tell you is, once you've made the easy money, close the position, right? Don't hang on, and don't fall in love with the stock. I've had people that would sooner, I wrote up, hey, time to sell Apple. People, you would have thought I'd insulted their mom. And I was like, okay, come on. And it's a stock. So that would be kind of what I hope that answers your question.
So in terms of making decisions in trading, I find that the hardest part is knowing when to sell your positions. So do you listen to your gut or your the technical? How do you sell?
So trading is a lot like flying a plane. you know, where the plane is doing 95% of the work, but that 5% on the edges really matters, right? So what I'm looking for is, hey, you know, I think that something is going to happen. We're starting to see the signs. So what what enables me to do is get in earlier and get out earlier, or get in later and get out later. Some things like that relative to what my, you know, my technicals are saying. You know, this is a pump fake, or, you know, so what I would say is 95% technical, but you have to have a little bit of intuition what you're doing. And that comes with, you know, being in front of looking at these numbers for 20 years. You know, that would be kind of what I'd say. So yeah, develop a system, but know when your system's going to fail. And that's the key to risk management is know when your system is going to go out the window.
Thank you.
I got another question. On the other side, when do you know, when are you comfortable enough so I've been holding this company called Albemarle for a while now, and I pitched it to the Equity Society. It's a great company fundamentally. I think it's like the #1 lithium-ion producer battery in the world. But they've just been battered the last couple of months, and they're down. I think I bought it at around 120, and it's down to 75 right now. When do you just pull the plug on something and move on with your life? And that's the longest you held on.
$20 ago? I'm just kidding. No, so you know, do they have options on it?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at. I honestly, I just looked at it as more. Just, I'm gonna put some money in and not think about it. At the same time.
If you worked for me, I would have fired you. So,
Also,
no, I'm kidding.
Come over to New Jersey and gamble with us. We could turn that money and cross everyone on a parlay. I'll give you the number. I'll give you the teams to pick.
So no, in all honesty, you know, more what I would say is the fact that you didn't know whether the stock is optionable. That's actually the red flag. You clearly know what the company is, but maybe you don't know some of the mechanics, some of the how it's traded, you know, what its levels are. You know, take this as a learning experience and something that you build on. You know, it's only a loser if you don't learn. It's only truly a loser if you don't learn from it and move on. You know, generally speaking, I always tell people I'd rather sell a stock at 75 than buy it back for 100 going up to 150 than carry it all the way down to $50 and then ride it all the way back up. So, you know, next time you do this, you have to have a floor. And, you know, what I was going to say is if it's optionable, I would dump the stock and buy a call option. And then if it goes back up, you don't feel so bad.
Thank you.
Mark G, how do you gain data from our phones and microphones and use it for ads?
So sometimes you guys manually like accept things. So when you're connecting your Facebook to certain, you know, certain apps, and then also sometimes you automatically enter, you know, an agreement with the party just without you guys knowing it. So I would just check your phones to see when you enter and stuff like that. But a lot of the tools, usually it's from Apple. And, you know, Apple, Facebook, Google, you know, the main four, you know, Microsoft, when you're searching, they have certain tools so that I know, like when I have tracking on Facebook and Google, when you're talking to about certain products, or you're typing in, like, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. So, you know, when we're talking, I was, you know, actually just talking about a Broadway play I saw on Sunday. And, you know, we were discussing that in WhatsApp, and because you know, we discussed it, WhatsApp realized or sent ads to somebody I am friends with in Denver. So he got the play ads, even though he hasn't been searching it up like that. So it's the targeting is, you know, very broad. And when you buy these, you know, a lot of time, and I can go to the next step if you're really interested. a lot of the time I buy these big audiences in Facebook, so they'll tell me, hey, you're a sports fan, you're male 21 plus, and it's a list of 600,000 people, when really Facebook or Apple or anything, these guys, they're taking the tools that they have and they're showing ads accordingly. So there's a lot more information than probably what I can learn based on your search history, what apps that you've downloaded. And since you're usually on any of these sites, that's that's how we can learn information on you. But check your data sources and see what you're sharing. It's always we're not going to use it for bad, but just based on what public profile you have on Facebook, and because you like certain things, or you're not like what you're searching, what you're posting about, what you're liking on Facebook, that's how we learn. That's the majority of the time, the 95% of how I know to serve you a Villanova sports ad. How you're looking for spring break, and you're typing in spring break for next week, and I serve you an ad because I'm a visitflorida.com marketing manager.
Like Mark said, the more that they spend to learn that, the more information they get, right? And the larger audience they get. So a company like his, which has some resources, or a company like mine that has resources, we provide a lot of data about customers, and that's how we ads.
Yeah, and Facebook encourages you to upload your own clients to create a profile.
Yep, that's what we do.
Yeah, and it's pretty phenomenal what they can come up with.
Yeah, so a lot of the time, so when you sign up for, you guys don't spend all your day reading the T's and C's when you sign up for Seamless or Facebook, or getting free trials for everything. So read that, and then Mark's exactly right. So in order for me to exclude you, when I'm trying to get people to sign up and deposit on our website, I upload a list of email addresses that people provide and exclude those from seeing a certain ad. But then Facebook will build a lookalike audience of those people. So you guys have your email addresses. So the majority of the group here, you guys probably like Villanova basketball, go to certain restaurants, or go to certain places, so that I can track that location data. So when you're going down to Atlantic City and you're a Villanova basketball fan, I can say, hey Villanova basketball fan, check out the latest sports bar at the William Hill Sports Bar. We have the ocean and the trop, so I would be able to target accordingly.
Right, good question.
I have a follow-up. Yeah, Mark Grzybowski, when you're doing like SEO and other digital marketing, is it tough to get into, I guess, the headspace of your target audience and whoever you're talking to?
So for me, I'm just lucky enough that I'm the person that I'm trying to reach out to. A male 21 plus who has disposable income, who likes sports. But at previous clients, at my original agency, I worked on Longchamp handbags. And I did not know, what the certain handbags was, but at the end of the day, it's all the same. It's all the same things. You just have to educate yourself in the space of what you're trying to sell. And even though I've never bought a handbag before, and back in the day, I could tell you what the different colors are, what the different, what the different price points are. And then when I, look at our competitors and how do we differentiate, and what type of content do people traditionally look at, for those handbags or whatever product, it could be, how can we, build the website and the technicals on the side for SEO or SEM to succeed. Because at the end of the day, for marketing, it's, I've built campaigns for, Starbucks, Longchamp, Poppin, which was a, a B2B and B2C office supply company. FanDuel was, daily fantasy sports. Olympic was B2B marketing, and now it's, online shopping or online sports betting. It's literally been the same customer profile. It's just, what target audience do we need? What are the main, main things, reasons why you would want to use our product, and then how do we beat the competition? Either zig where they zag, or if they're going to be somewhere, how do we do it? Spend more money or do it even better than them. But always, to always look at, if I was a customer looking for your product, what would I be searching for? So if you can look at tools like SEMrush, and you can see, well, if 10,000 people are typing, perfect example, we're getting ready for our March Madness campaign. So if 10,000 people are typing, March Madness tournament, and 400 people are typing, NCAA tournament bracket, then I should build my content around, the highest level search thing, so I can, try to reach the biggest target audience that I can. That answer your question?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Problem.
One more. All right, any parting thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, just like I said, ask questions and enjoy your time in college. When you're senior year, you're like, oh, I'm so sick of college. You're the single dumbest thing I ever said that ever left my mouth was, oh man, can't wait to get to the real world. No, I'm kidding. But no, just enjoy yourselves, have fun. It's I gotta say, it's really great to see this many betas. I don't know if you guys know this. You know how many betas there were in my junior year of college?
Yeah, just to let you guys know. He was there.
There were 9. We had 9. But it's great to see so many of you looking, interested in learning. And if you have questions or you want anything, you feel free to link me in or shoot me an email. Oh, also, I recorded this, so I'll put this up on YouTube if you guys are okay with that.
Great.
Thank you. On LinkedIn. Can we add you on LinkedIn?
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
How did you?
No, remove it. I don't want any. Also, guys, just to add, guys, have fun. Just make sure you study. But, I can't stress enough. Just have fun. Like, these are going to be some of the best years of your life. Luckily for me, Villanova joining Beta was one of the best decisions I ever had. On Thursday, one of my fraternity brothers is having a destination wedding, and we're probably rolling 15 betas deep. And I think in January 10 years ago, I literally went to do the rounds of what fraternity I should join, and I still talk to half the room. Every day, once a week, I see them all the time for, we watch Villanova at the tailgates, watch Villanova, just see them, throughout the year. And it's, just promise me you guys will have fun. But I will say the real world, has some pros and cons, but not doing homework on a Sunday is just, it is great. Like,
yeah, that's,
I just love watching, NFL all day on Sundays and just, having a blast. But I really, just thanks for having us. For us two guys can talk. Honestly, if you have any questions, just email us, Femry on Facebook, add us on LinkedIn, and happy to help, no matter what it is.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna shut this down.
Also, guys, tell Jermaine Samuels and DRC when they're 2 feet from the basket to shoot the ball.
Yeah.